This is Time Signatures with Jim Ervin, a podcast and radio program presented by the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan. Most any contemporary musical style can trace its roots back to the blues. Time Signatures explores the blues and its musical connections with captivating interviews, lively discussions, and news from the world of the blues.
You know I'm crying, baby, driving up and down these Michigan roads, yeah.
And now, here he is, your host, Jim Ervin.
Baby, I'm home.
Well, thank you so much, Parker, and welcome to Time Signatures. I'm your host, Jim Ervin, and part of the fun that I have on this podcast each and every time that I get to record is I love meeting and talking to new people on a regular basis. And when I set out to do my interviews, I try to write my questions and I immerse myself in the music. And part of that process is reading and learning as much as I can about each person I talk to. But what if there isn't a lot out there to be found on a person? Well, you do the best you can. My guest today is a young man who's been around in and around the greater Detroit music scene for at least the last 11 years from what I've found. He's been mentored by many of the local music scene throughout the years. The result? For a young man in his early 20s, he has an incredible stage presence and some really good blues guitar chops. And to be honest, I'm a little bit jealous of his full head of curly hair, but you know, hey, that's the way it is. Brendon Linsley, welcome to Time Signatures, man. How's it going?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to do this interview with you.
My pleasure. And I always try to keep it light while we're doing this, you know, so anytime I find somebody that's got a lot of hair, of course I'm jealous, but I guess the best place for us to start is at the proverbial beginning, Brendon. How did your interest in music first come about?
So when I was pretty much since I was born, my parents constantly played music throughout the house. My mom would burn CDs and we had speakers outside the house, inside the house. It was all day long there was music. And she was a funk disco girl. She liked Prince, Morris Day and the Time, P-Funk. My dad was the rock and roller. He liked Led Zeppelin, Van Halen, Jay Giles.
Right on.
And I kind of fell somewhere in between that. I got a good mix. So I told my dad, hey, Dad, I'd really like to play drums. And he got me a little drum kit. And I started playing drums, and I wasn't very good at it. I was about 5 years old, 6 years old at that time. And he's like, well, we can try something else. I think they were happy because, 6-year-old banging on drums all day long.
Yeah.
So I went to piano, and I'm like, yeah, it's cool, but my dude was Jimmy Page. I always looked up to Jimmy Page, and I really wanted to play guitar. So around 8 years old, as a Christmas gift, my dad bought me a little small Fender Strat, and I started practicing and would get some lessons from guys, and it just stuck. I always loved guitar.
Now, did you, aside from Jimmy Page, I know that was your guy, any other musicians or songs that were your favorites when you were growing up?
Yeah. I really liked song Rubber Band Man. That's a funky, good song right there.
Sure.
Prince just was always cool to me. I thought Prince was the man. There is so many songs that throughout the years I come and go from, or I hear and I remember hearing it when I was 6 years old, 7 years old, and
Sure.
it's a long list. It was mostly Jimmy Page, Led Zeppelin, and I got into Van Halen a little bit later, but I always thought those guys rocked. They look pretty cool doing it as well. So I was like, hey, I think I want to do that.
Sure. Now, a lot of the stuff that I see you playing today is blues. Do you kind of go in between and still visit the rock and roll side a little bit more when you're out playing, or what is your chosen genre for the most part?
Blues is what makes me the happiest, and
Okay.
what I feel like I'm not thinking at all when I'm playing. I'm just feeling, and I'm putting it into my guitar. and I love that freeing aspect behind the blues music. So that's always going to be number one for me. But I do like to rock it out a little bit. We do a version of Voodoo Child, and get a little funky in it in the middle. We do Hey Joe and throw some reggae groove on it. We like to play around a little bit with the songs.
Okay. Now you talked about the piano, you talked about the drums. Is there any other instruments that you play with seriously at this point, or is it just pretty much guitar?
I'm trying to, once I figure out the guitar fully, I'll go to something else, but I'm, I'm still learning quite a
Okay.
bit. Um, I do have a piano down here in my little room studio that I practice all my music in, just for, noodling around, but I would not call myself a piano player.
Okay. You know, we always hear about keeping the blues alive, but in your case, you're an actual example of keeping the blues alive in action. I'd like you to talk about the local musicians who have spent time working with you and mentoring you along the way.
Okay.
And by all means,
Um,
name names.
yeah. So my number one dude that's probably taught me the most, he's like a big brother to me by this point, is Erich Goeble, from
Okay.
the Flying Bars. I went to the Goose. I started going out to jam nights in like 2011, 12, I think, around there. And I saw him play, and I'm just like, wow, this guy is a whole nother level. We have a ton of great musicians, but he always struck a chord with me. His ability to go from any type of music he wanted to, and his conviction behind the guitar was amazing. So I asked him for lessons, and he was a little hesitant at first because I was a young kid, and he was not really focused on teaching guitar. He was focused on playing it. But every time I'd see him, I'd ask, hey, what about a couple lessons? And eventually he's like, you know what? Come over to my house, bring an acoustic guitar and a notepad, right?
Nice.
And from that point forward, he's taught me so much about the business, about the instrument, the history of music, the theory behind it. So he's a big influence of mine, and a number one guy. McCarty, Jim McCarty. He was always been very, very nice to me and willing to show me a lot. And every now and then I'd sneak a tape recorder behind his amp and try to pick up a couple things.
Sure.
Um, a cat by the name of Jimmy Alter was one of the first that ever. Actually, my first paid gig, I think, was with Jimmy Alter. He really helped me get into the music scene and, start making a little bit of cash doing it. And I'm very grateful to him for that. But the list goes on and on. I mean, Jimmy plays with Tasha Owens and the Stable Dudes right now.
Okay.
And there's a guy, Jason Bone, which he used to play with Big Ray, King Size Blues Band. And they just, at the end of one of these jam nights or something, and I was always going to begging my parents, come on, drive me out there, because I couldn't drive, right? So we would be there till 2 o'clock in the morning, 2:30. They're flipping chairs, right? They're cleaning the place, and he'd be sitting down on one side of the table. I'd be on the other, and they'd be showing me licks, and then I would be taking the guitar and trying to play it. So everybody has been very, very supportive. I always ask, what can I do better? Or, I like that. Show me how to do it.
Sure. Well, I have to ask you because as I told you before we started recording, I saw a video of Larry McCray. I think it was 2016, if I'm not mistaken, December was, or maybe it was the 2022. Did you open for him like December 30th of 22? Does that sound right?
That sounds about right. I think it was McCarty. Jim McCarty was on that as well.
Yes.
That's
Yeah, he
yeah.
mentioned McCarty. Yep. But I wanted to ask you because I know that Larry is very accommodating for new and younger musicians. What was it like working with him? Did you ever get a chance to sit down and trade licks and compare notes with him at all?
I don't think that particular night we did, but I've ran into Larry a lot of times. I've seen him out and about, and he's been such a gentleman to me and my parents. Very, very nice guy.
Yeah.
And he always, was cool with me, which you'd be surprised. There are people out there that don't want to take the time to talk to some young kid. They have other things on their mind.
Sure.
But he was always very, very cool. And I listened to his music and try to replicate or, take something he does and throw my spin onto it.
Yep.
But I'm very happy to see he's always been a successful musician, but now he's really getting a lot done. And I think he's
He is.
been working with Bonamassa
Yep.
quite a bit. So props to
Yeah, you
him
see,
because he
got a
deserves it.
picture up here on the wall from his concert in December, and he brought Larry out on stage that night.
Yeah. What was that? Where was that? Fox?
Fox. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a press pass and I was allowed to shoot the first 3 sets or songs in the set. And that press pass, if you look in the lower right corner of Homer Simpson, that was my press pass.
Oh, cool. Okay. Oh, what an opportunity, man.
That was a cool experience, man. I got to flip the page here a little bit. I want to talk about that first time on stage. Were you shaking like crazy? Did it just sort of fit like a glove for you, Brendon? How was that for you?
I was nervous as could be, to be honest with you. I was nervous. My chord chops weren't very good back then because I spent all my time learning licks, right? The fun
Sure.
stuff. So during the singing and when I'm playing the chords, that was scary for me because my hands were still getting that down. And my ear always told me if something was right or wrong, but I put a lot of pressure on myself when it came to the chords. With the soloing, once I started playing, everything just kind of fades away. I'm not thinking
Right.
about anything. So it was a mixed bag, to be honest with you, but I got used to it very quickly.
Very cool. I want to talk about that first night again here. You're on the stage as a solo artist or band leader, if you will. Did you notice things starting to click at some point where you started to feel like, yeah, this is the right thing. I'm where I need to be?
Well, because I went out to these jam nights before I had my own gig that you're referring to, right? My first gig. So
Yep.
I knew all these guys from that because I went out and saw them and had opportunities to play and work with these guys before. So I think that click was already developing before I even had my first gig. And when I did do my first gig, I couldn't have asked for a better group of guys to do it with. It was blast, very fun, very talented musicians. And it was smooth as silk as far as I'd say.
Nice. Nice. You're listening and watching Time Signatures. I'm your host, Jim Ervin. And my guest today is a young man. He's 23 years old, down from the Metro Detroit area, Brendon Linsley, who's actually just, in my opinion, tearing it up for a guy his age and having a lot of fun watching him develop his talent and watching the videos come up on YouTube. And I'm really looking forward to an opportunity to seeing this cat play. That's what I really want to do. Unfortunately, things haven't lined up yet. But I want to talk for just a minute about the effect that the pandemic had on your young music career. What did you do during that decidedly dark period? How'd you keep yourself busy? Did you write? How'd you handle it?
I played a lot of guitar is what I did. I would stay at the house and just practice because, everybody, you couldn't go anywhere. Everything was shut down. So I was pretty much at the house just discovering new artists, watching a lot of YouTube videos of, guys like Erich Goeble and
Oh
Joe
yeah.
Bonamassa and, kind of paying attention, honing my craft. I really seriously started working on my vocals a lot more at that point. I think it was going back, sure, I wish that I could have played a lot more during that time frame. but I think everything happens for a reason, and I gained a lot of knowledge out of that time.
Yeah. How does it feel to be back to work doing the thing you enjoy the most, though?
Oh, it's amazing. It really is. Anytime I have a gig, I'm pretty much in my happy place, right? I'm
Right.
enjoying it. And I think every musician has dealt with this at some point or another. Some nights, you're playing for the staff or something, right? It's a slow night, maybe it's a snowstorm or something, and you still showing up. And it doesn't matter to me because I'm playing I'm playing with some of the best musicians around, in my opinion, and it's always a blast. I'm smiling, I'm having a good time. Even when I make a mistake, we all kind of look at each other, and it's like one of those, oh, I heard that. It's great.
So talk about your band a little bit. How did that come together? And let's hear the names. Who are you playing with?
Lately, I've been using a drummer by the name of Daryl Pierce. He played with Betty Lavette for a very, very long time, and a ton of other great musicians. He's very, very talented. Um, when did we start working together? Where was it? I knew Daryl for a long time from the music scene. I want to
Mhm.
say like recent. It's probably been about 2 years, 3 years now that we've been working together. And he's got huge ears for a drummer. He's always listening to what's going on. And something that he does is I'll play some little line on the guitar, and his syncopation to lock in with that line is crazy. So we make a game out of it now. He'll play something, and I have to, middle of a phrase, change my rhythmic, the way I'm doing it to lock in with him, or vice versa. Uh, Gentleman, sweetheart of a guy, um, very, very cool dude and great drummer. My bass player is Chris Rummel. He he's pretty well known throughout the music scene, especially the blues music scene. He's worked with and just probably any band you could name. He's played with them around here. He's
Okay.
really the guy for, you want a bass player that's not going to do anything too fancy, but swing those lines and make his P bass, his electric thing sound like a stand up. That's the dude.
Okay. Okay. So what are your future plans as a musician, Brendan? Where do you see your journey taking you from this point? And is there any kind of a timeline you're looking at? Any places plotted out along the way?
Well, I try to not over plan my future too much, because I know really your destiny is never decided, right? What's going to happen? Anything could happen. But of course, I would love to, get out on the road, start playing out further. Um, I would love it if it was with my band, but I wouldn't be opposed to some cat needing a guitar player that's been out on the road and doing this for 10, 15 years, and
Sure.
go out with them and kind of learn the ropes a bit from those guys. Um, I'm working on a fully original album right now. I have one released that's all covers, some of my favorite songs to play, but I'm doing a full original. And yeah, hopefully I just keep getting a little further out. And thankfully this year has been pretty good to me. I've been busy. I'll be playing Taoist, their blues festival
Oh,
coming up.
nice. Yeah, rumor
Uh,
has it you're coming possibly to Lansing as well.
yes, yeah, I'm in the process of kind of working out the details, but I would say 95% sure you'll see me there.
We would love to see you there, definitely. Brendan, where can people find out more about you? Now, I know you said that you have a cover CD available right now. You're working on your original, but website, Facebook, where can people go to look for you?
Well, you know how it is nowadays. You kind of got to be everywhere. So
Yep.
I have a website. It's brendonlinsley.com, and I post my gigs on there. It has an about section. There's some live performances. If you're interested in booking, there's a spot you can reach out to do that too. Some of the merchandise that the band sells as well. Facebook, Brendon Linsley Band is my band page. Instagram is Brendon Linsley Music, but I like to post a little bit of different stuff on all those different sites.
Sure.
Certain times these photos and experiences on the Facebook, on Instagram, a lot more of just short format videos for, a couple cool things that I liked I did at one of the gigs. I'll post a video up there.
Well, Brendon Linsley, it truly has been a pleasure chatting with you today. I'm excited to see where you're going to go from this point. And to be honest, I think you've got a great future ahead of you. You're fun to listen to. You're clearly passionate about your craft. And it really has been an honor to have you on the show today.
Well, thank you again. I'm very grateful for the opportunity. And maybe sometime in the future I can come back and we can revisit some more stuff.
When you get ready to release that CD, you come back, we'll put you on and help you promote that. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Very good. And I want to thank you, the listener, the viewer, the supporter, and the fan of this show, because without you, none of this would be possible. And you have my sincerest thanks as well. And by the way, please make sure that you click the subscribe button and the notification button below so that you don't miss an episode. I mean, it's a lot of fun. Jim Ervin reminding you that keeping the blues alive is everyone's responsibility, but preserving the history of the blues one story at a time, that's my mission. Until next time, so long.
This has been Time Signatures with Jim Ervin, presented by the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan. For more information on cabs, visit capitalareablues.org. You can find this episode and past episodes at lccconnect.org. The Time Signatures theme song, Michigan Roads, is used by permission and was written by Root Doctor, featuring Freddie Cunningham.
I'm trying, baby, driving up and down these Michigan roads, yeah.
Until next time, keep on keeping the blues alive.